Hi, my name is Geetha Moorthy. Welcome to the Building Tomorrow Together podcast. I wanted to take this project on because as we come up on our 15th year at the SAAAC Autism Centre, I'm grateful to all the incredible people I have met. In my 15 years of running SAAAC, I have been so lucky to work and collaborate some amazing people who have helped grow SAAAC, who have enriched my life personally, and who continuously make our world a better place. Welcome to our podcast, Building Tomorrow Together. Today we have a special guest, Amir Akbari, who is a talented artist and an educator. Amir has 20 years of experience in community arts. Currently, he is at SAAAC as the Director of Arts. Please welcome Amir Akbari.
Hi, Geetha. Thanks for having me, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's very humbling, so I appreciate it.
Okay, can I ask you something like where did you start this journey of becoming an artist? Like I know like when you were little, like when you were a student, that was your interest, or how was the journey started?
Okay, so when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily into art. It was when my older brother, I have two older brothers, and the eldest one, when he was in high school, he started painting, and I was always a little curious with what he was doing, but I think I was like a silly kid at that time. I still am a little silly here and there, but I felt like I was a very silly kid, and I didn't really have anything that I was really passionate about. And when I started seeing him paint, I kind of it caught my interest a little bit, and I was still reluctant. I didn't really. I saw art as just kind of like a little, just like a little hobby thing. I didn't take it that seriously at all. And then it was around the time when I was in grade 10 in high school, when I started to have to actually think about what I wanted to be, who I wanted to be, and what my identity was. And at that time, I started just kind of, following along with what he was doing, and started just picking up the brush and just exploring and having fun. I was really just having fun with art and painting. And as I did it, the more I did it, the more intrigued I got, and the more uh, I started to actually like see results. So I started to do better in art classes, and art and drama and the arts in general were where I was starting to show more promise. And then it was around that time I was a teenager, and then I think you're 16, 17 at that age, grade 10, 11. I started to actually take it a little bit more seriously, and just wanted to learn, and was really passionate about trying to figure out how to do different things and develop different techniques and skills. And then when the time came to, as a young person, there's a lot of pressure for you to figure out what you want to do, and what your life is going to look like after high school. So when I got to that point, I was like, okay, I think art is my calling. So I started to go down that path.
Okay, so how did your personal experience guide your path to SAAAC?
Yeah, so as I was studying art, so I applied to go to OCAD University. I got in. I was really thrilled. And as I was studying there, I wasn't sure exactly what the life of an artist would be or what it would entail. And some of what I was seeing wasn't speaking to me. And I think the idea of being kind of, a lonely artist and sitting in your studio and painting by yourself, and then hoping people would like your work or validate you and whatnot. It didn't really speak to me. So I thought, how else can I use art to do something that I'm more passionate about? And for me, I've always loved people. I've always loved connecting with people and interacting, and I loved collaborating and things like that. So once I kind of got to that state where I wanted to explore, I started just kind of going out into the community, and literally walking around to different organizations and places that were doing community work, or any art focused with a portfolio, and just introducing myself and being like, I'm an artist, can I participate? Can I help? Can I do something? And It's amazing when you do stuff like that because opportunities just came. And then I did a mural project in 2003. That was the first one with an organization in the west end of Toronto. It's called Urban Arts. And just everything aligned. They had a mural project coming up. They needed, I volunteered. And then they had an artist that was assigned to the project. And then last minute, that artist couldn't fulfill the role, so they gave it to me. And then out of nowhere, with no experience, I got my first mural. It was a massive project, and as I was doing it, I was like just taking this big rolled up canvas to these different schools and these different areas, that had a lot of need, and just working with the young kids and seeing how intrigued they were and how interested they were and how hungry they were for it. I think at that moment I thought, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with art. I want to use art as a way to connect with people, to engage with people, and to, bring a little bit of, maybe a little bit of joy, maybe a little bit of fun, a little bit of engagement to young people and kids. I went down that path. That was many, many years ago, but naturally and organically, it led me to SAAAC. And in 2015, and I remember it was just all through referrals, and people were like, "This is the guy that does the art stuff." And then I think that's how I got connected to you guys. And then I remember our very first conversation when we sat down, and I saw what SAC was doing, and I shared what I was doing, and I think there was just like natural synergy there. And since then, yeah, it's been an amazing journey.
That's great because, like I also come from the arts background, like dance. So, like for me, like I have deeply, like the SAC's mission, like it started with the dance. And then I strongly believe that there's a transformative force, like behind like arts. So as the director of arts, like what are your thoughts, like about the transformative force on?
Yeah, I think there's a few different layers to that. I think the first part is, whenever you're trying to connect and engage with people, there's often barriers, and those barriers could be language, they could be background, they could be trust. There could be so many different things that prevents people from connecting and engaging. And I think art is one of the best avenues to kind of break some of those barriers. And when I heard your story about how you started with dance, and you started just teaching young people on the spectrum, I connected with that a lot, because it seems like such a great natural way to engage with somebody, where some of those barriers can be broken and the guard can be down, because you're engaging in an activity. You're not necessarily trying to teach them, you're connecting with them, or you're not trying to necessarily go and do therapy. There's another connection there. So I think it helps break that barrier. And then beyond that, I think there's um, so many qualities to self-expression that just helps us. And I think sometimes we neglect that part of ourselves. We like look at our needs in terms of like, what is a person's needs, a human being, what is their needs. We look at like some of the tangible stuff, like they need food, they need shelter, they need health, they need this. But I think every human being also needs access to art, and I think you need a form of self-expression. You need an outlet. Um, you need something to like help you be you. You need something to help you kind of identify who you are and get your voice out. So I think it's a universal thing. And for our clients, for our students, our associates, the people that we work with here at the center, I think sometimes that aspect of their needs is neglected a little bit, because there's so many other needs that we think that like, let's work on all these other stuff, but we don't give them an outlet. We don't give them a way to really express themselves in a free way. So I think it's vital. I think it's as important as all those other things I mentioned. And I could list the the benefits all day. Like I like I said, I compare it to breathing, I compare it to eating, I compare it to, I think it's what makes us human. and I think it's what gives us our identity. So, high level, that's how I would kind of describe it.
I see your passion there. Like it's very what I see is like like how you are like reaching out to the vulnerable groups, and like it's very commendable. Like what you're doing, and like how do you like? Can you shed some light to us on like when you're teaching them, or like what's the experience or moments that you have that will affirm that the like the great work that you're doing.
Yeah, so I mean, thank you for that. It's great to hear that your work is commendable, but I think for me, I try to look at it, I don't try to look at it as a one-way stream. I try to look at it as a two-way stream. And I think the work that I do, whether it's with individuals on the spectrum, young people in different communities, it's all helping me become a better artist and a better person. So I kind of approach things like that, and I get as much from them as they get from me. I genuinely believe that. Um, but in terms of like the response, and that's a really important thing. And one of the first things I tell a lot of volunteers, new volunteers that come into the program when we're doing the training is um, don't with our demographic, with the autism community, the level of response you get can really vary based on the individual. So one of the first things I tell them is don't assume because they're not telling you that yes, I understand this, or I got this, or I'm having fun, that they're not processing things, and that they're not taking in gaining knowledge or acquiring those skills. They just communicate in a different way. And one of the things that always really gives me a lot of affirmation and makes me feel great about the work that I do is when I see that progress over time. So I have some students that had come in and they're nonverbal or very limited verbally, and needed somebody to sit with them and work with them one on one. And I've seen over a period of time, through reinforcement, through repetition, engagement, support, that now they've kind of developed their own independent system and process. So it shows me that they're understanding a lot, and they're learning a lot, and they're gaining a lot, and I see the benefit. When I step back and look at the big picture, you really see the benefit. You really see how it's impacting them, and making them happier, and changing their lives, and giving them really a sense of purpose, and once again a sense of identity. And some of the young people I work with, they when you ask them, "What are you? Who are you?" They'll say, "I'm an artist," and that's what you know gives me goosebumps and gets me motivated when I hear that from them. So I think there's a lot of moments like that, and sometimes they take time to get to that point. And I think, specifically with autism spectrum, sometimes it can be easy to get discouraged because you don't see that immediate sort of response uh, when you're maybe working with a different group or different demographic. You might not see that immediate response, but I think in the long run, I've come to the point now after doing it for so long. I know for a fact that they're all benefiting.
Mhm.
And I haven't seen a single individual yet that has not benefited from one of the different streams. Maybe visual art isn't for them, but somebody that can has I have not seen them do anything independently, is drumming independently and feeling the rhythm, and you can see they're processing it. So when I see those moments, that's really the inspiration
Mhm.
for me.
So, is there something like you can share with us, like a something very memorable success stories, like that had a really great impact? Like over here at SAAAC Autism Center, whatever the artwork, like it doesn't matter whether it's an individual or whether it's a group session, but you must have some kind of a like some impact, great impact that you have seen.
Yeah, there's tons, just off the top of my head, a few things that pop into my head is when we've done shows and events, and when we've kind of brought our artists to the forefront and had them, be represented, and seeing how they thrive in that moment, and seeing how they're like just overjoyed with the attention that they're getting, and the admiration that people have for what they're doing, what they're creating is giving them, really positive attention, positive feedback. So you can see in their face when they're like standing in there and posing for pictures with their artwork, you can see how happy they are. So those moments are always, a great example of what you're talking about. And then I have some students that need a lot of help and give you very little response. But for example, I had a few individuals who we spent several months just getting them to pick up a brush and put it back in the water by themselves. We did a lot of stuff hand over hand, but we tried to work on them doing things independently. And when I saw that they were accomplishing that simple task that many of us will take for granted, through months of effort, you know, uh, something like that, is a great success story for me, because I can see that, it might seem really challenging, it might sometimes seem impossible, but when you see that you have a breakthrough, whatever that breakthrough is, it's incredible. It's incredible to see. And then just seeing how much fun they have, the students, and how they're engaging with the processes and the subject matter. Like just yesterday, one of the young girls was like, "What are we gonna paint? Can we start painting now? Who are we waiting for? Let's start!" And just the enthusiasm to create art, and just and then seeing how they become comfortable, how they, um, their nerves are gone, and it's their place now, it's their zone, it's their space. They feel safe here, they feel comfortable here, they feel like they have some ownership here. Those are all like we experience that almost on a daily basis. So yeah, things like that are some of the breakthroughs I've had students that have gone from never speaking a word to us to sharing full sentences. I had students that went from being completely dependent to being able to not just work independently, but now developing their own skills independently. So those are all, you know, breakthroughs for me.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you had like it's so much of challenges too. I don't think that like working with vulnerable communities or like children on the spectrum, it might be a little bit like more challenging, but then some days you might feel very frustrated. And how do you overcome that?
That's a very good question. I, yeah, it's hard. I don't know if you do. You have to overcome it, but I think it affects you. And there's times where you just feel exhausted, and there's times where you feel like what you're doing maybe isn't having the results that you want. But for me, I always try to like look at the big picture. I've always kind of been like that. When I get into that sort of space, I try to take a few steps back and just be like, not just look at that moment or just that week or those few days, but like really step back and look at the big picture of how the impact of the work that we're doing. That helps me kind of overcome it. um, there is times where you do encounter a young individual that is having a hard time, and you feel like they're in pain or experiencing pain, or they're crying a lot, or there's a lot of behaviors and there's a lot of frustrations, and a lot of those types of things. So that can be hard to cope with, and you take that home with you sometimes, because you're thinking about that young person, and you're trying to figure out how can I help this person, and you feel for them, you feel for their family. In those instances, I just kind of, try to channel the parents and just think about, like as challenging as this is for me, I try to think about what are they going through and how are they coping. And some of the parents that I've met are just incredible at, just staying positive and having a good sense of humor, and still trying to like just maintain an upbeat spirit. And when I see that, I'm like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. They live with it. I don't necessarily live with it. So, I find strength in them a lot of times. But yeah, it does get challenging. And one thing that we really try to emphasize in the programs and the spaces and whatever I'm doing with art is I try to make sure it's fun. If it stops being fun, I think that that's a problem. And I always just try to make sure that the kids are having fun. There's an element of fun for the instructors, for the staff, everyone. Our spirits have to be high.
Mhm.
Our spirits have to be high in this line of work. And if we let our spirits get down, then we're gonna pass that on to our students, and then that defeats the purpose of the work because we're here to like help them and lift their spirits. So a combination of all those things, I
Right.
guess.
So talking about the caregivers, I know you just mentioned like, like how when you think about like, like they're there 24/7 and then you're like, like here, like few hours with them, right? So, so, like how at the center here, like we have this holistic benefits of arts or any other programs too. So you have taught like the children and the caregivers too sometimes. How do you take, like when you teach the caregivers, how do you feel? Like, how do they feel about it? And can you talk about it?
Yeah, for sure. So the great thing is actually, so just yesterday, there was a new student, a young girl in our program, and I didn't recognize her dad. I'd done an art program with him years ago before the pandemic, and I didn't recognize him. But as we were talking, he brought it up, and he mentioned, he's like, "Yeah, that painting we did, like I have that up." I'm like, "Oh, were you in that class?" He's like, "Yeah, Amir, come on, you don't remember?" I'm like, "Sorry, it was like a lot of parents there, and he was younger at that point, looked different, but I didn't necessarily remember him, but he remembered the experience, and that experience was something that." Meant something to him, obviously, because he still remembered it. And it was also something that um, once his kid was much younger at that age, at that point, so she wasn't ready for the program. But once her child was ready for the program, his child was ready for the program, he brought her to the program. So he saw the benefit, he felt it, he experienced it. And no, it feels great because, they need as much support as their children do sometimes. They're going through a lot. I'm a new parent. I have a 2-year old, and I know how hard it is with just one kid. So knowing that some of these families that have multiple kids and sometimes multiple kids on the spectrum, just how challenging that has to be for them, and how much sacrifice that takes and everything like that. So you try your best to support them in the same way and give them that same sense of inspiration and motivation, and also if we can teach them some of these activities and skills, then they can engage with their children with it. So we never shy away from sharing our strategies and our tactics and our how we like get some of the students to do certain things. And the parents are like, wow, how did you do that? How did you get them to sit for 20-30 minutes? We'll show them, we'll explain it to them, and we'll try to get them to reinforce it, right? Because it benefits both sides. So that's a really important part of it too. The caregivers, and not just the caregivers, the siblings. I know those things, those people. That group of people sometimes gets left out. They're as valuable. They're the crutches. They're the supports. They're often the ones that are kind of left with that sort of responsibility. I hear a lot of parents tell the sibling of their child on the spectrum that you have to take care of your brother or your sister when we're gone and things like that. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a young person. I could never imagine having that sort of pressure or responsibility when I was 15, 16, 17. So it affects the whole family. And so you try to just be a positive part of their life, and control whatever you can. And that's a philosophy that I think extends to everything. There's so much in life that we can't control, but the things that we can, we should just try to do them to the best that we can. So
Yeah, when you said about the positive part of their lives, like, like, so I was going to ask you something like, like how we discuss at the center about the broader benefits of, of art, right? To the participants, like, like socially and economically. So I know like we have this new program, what we have, like, like that might be a little bit, you want to talk a little bit of that employment program what we have. So, like, so that takes a lot of the families too. So do you want to talk
Yeah,
about that program?
absolutely. I mean, so it's this has been really exciting because when we started, we just started with like programming and just trying to engage. And as we were doing that, we were thinking, how do we extend this? How do we take this to the next step? How do we just go beyond engagement? And then we went into like more skill acquisition and trying to get them to like retain more skills and create a higher caliber artwork and things like that. And after that we are like, okay, how do we translate this into something that can have a bigger impact in their life? And employment, independence, those two pieces are massive for the autism community. And I think a lot of families, as they're raising their child, because they're so overwhelmed and swamped with so many different things, they forget that at some point their child is going to be an adult, and that they hopefully can be a little independent and uh, potentially be employed, and and have their own lives. And so I think it was a big goal that we had. So we started the Goodness Gift social enterprise, I believe 3 4 years ago, as a small holiday gifting program, to address that need, to address that massive gap. And just seeing how that's grown now, and the support that we recently received from North Pine Foundation, and investing in it for 3 years, and allowing us to bring in a large, not large, but like a sizable group of people, and employ them, and having them here. So I have 9 individuals right now that are working, they're getting paid. They're here 14 hours a week. And it's just the benefits have just been amazing, from how the families are experiencing it and what they're telling me, and then also from them. So I know I'll give you a few quick examples. So one of the students, she now has purchasing power, so she has some independence now with what she wants. And the mom keeps telling me about like how interesting it is and how amazing it is that she just wants art stuff. So she just wants to buy more and more art stuff, more art supplies. She wants to try clay. She wants to get this. She wants to get a tablet. She wants to get all these different things. And now she's learning about budgeting. She's learning about finances. She's spending her own money, making her own decisions, and buying things to help her own development. And that was a byproduct of what we did. We employ them, we train them, but then after that, now that she's getting paid, she's developing and growing independently now, with the support of her mom. And her mom takes her to art stores, to different places, and she's making decisions now. She's engaging with her interests and interacting with different formats and mediums. So that's amazing to see. And then also, I've noticed some of the students, because we would see them weekly for about a 2 hour session once a week for the most part. But now, after having them sometimes all day for 2 days, you just see like that trajectory of their growth just like skyrocket, and also their happiness. One student, every day before she leaves, she tells us happy. She says my name. She says the other art instructor's name, and she repeats that she's happy being at SAAAC painting. And you can see how happy she is. But she's also been developing a lot of her own sort of independent practice at the same time, because it's the exposure has just been increased by a lot, and the support is here, the supplies, everything is here. So sometimes strategically we just kind of give her space and give her source material, and I'm seeing how she's figuring out techniques by herself. We're not necessarily teaching it to her. She's figuring it out by herself. She's figuring out her own sort of color scheme and her own sort of style. So, the benefits are just so incredible. Um, and yeah, I just having that opportunity to employ them, and have them here working independently. I've seen growth for them. I've seen growth for their families. And I guess the bigger hope is, in the long run, it's growth for the community. And you're seeing the other young artists or the young other individuals that aren't part of the art hub yet. You're seeing their families now motivated a little bit more, and you're seeing them motivated a little bit more to get to that point where they can maybe do more programming, take more classes. The parents can practice with their children a little bit more till they get to that independent. They can build an independent practice and then potentially join the art hub. And so yeah, like the benefits have just been so tremendous, and we're so excited to for the potential of this. It's still it's in infancy in terms of us getting it out there, the art out there. They're produced at a higher caliber and at a higher rate than I could have ever assumed. Like, we have so much art right now. So we're so excited to actually start getting that out there, get that out to different companies, organizations, do more shows. As you can see, I mean, all this art is their art. So just getting this out there, we're so excited by what potential that could have. And I think in terms of awareness, this was one of the things we always talked about at the very beginning. Creating awareness for the autism community. I think art is one of the best possible ways to do that. And I've seen that when we do shows and people come and look at the painting, and then you tell them, yeah, somebody on the spectrum created that, and because they might not have a lot of knowledge, or because they're not in the field, they're surprised and they're amazed. And I think that's really how you create that awareness, where it's challenging their assumptions, and then they're like, oh wow, so if this person can do this, they can probably do a lot of other things, and who knows what that could lead to, right? That could lead to people changing their perception about autism in the workforce, or in their own social circles, and help alleviate a lot of the challenges that these people face, right? So I think there's just so much benefit to it, and I'm so thrilled that we were actually able to get to that point, because I know when we first started talking, that was always a goal. Like, how do we take this from just a fun, engaging program and make it a vital part of individuals' lives?
Okay, Amir, you mentioned about 9 artists that you have hired, like we call them associates. But I just want to know, like, how many hours a week they work, and like how many, what's the rate like we pay? Is it the minimum wage, or like it's higher than that? And also, like, where are we going? Like, like, do we have any partnerships with the community, or any collaborations with anybody like AGO or something like that? Like, no, where do we take them? That what's the next level?
Yeah. So, first of all, in terms of like their hours, so uh, our 9 associates, they work up to 14 hours a week. Most of them do fulfill that 14 hours. And the rate of pay, fortunately, is above minimum wage, so it's $20 an hour, and which is absolutely incredible, because the assumption for a lot of people is that if you're working with in the community, if you're doing art, if you're doing work with autism, then it should be minimum wage, or that's the expectation. So I love the fact that we're breaking that expectation, and really advocating for the value of the work that we're doing. So they get paid $20 an hour, and they're thrilled. The parents are thrilled with that. And so, in terms of partnerships, we have a few partnerships that we are developing and working on. Toronto Zoo is one of them. The Scarborough Health Network is one of them, and a few other small organizations and businesses in our community. But we're also looking to expand to bigger organizations, bigger demographics, bigger community, and get into some of those big financial organizations, banks, businesses. There's a lot of places that could use art. They can use the incredible talents that we have. So we just have to kind of be that bridge for them. And we're looking for people. We're looking for people that are willing to kind of be pioneers and come on board and start working with us and supporting these incredible talents. So what we want to do with them as part of this program is the hope is that we transition them into either a micro business, an independent practice, or into a workforce. So based on what they're doing, the talents that they're gaining, whether it's in art or other things. We want them to be employed outside of the work that we're doing with them in a meaningful and consistent way, in a sustainable way. And there's no reason why that can't happen. It just is going to take the support of leaders in our community, business leaders, and people that have the power and the ability to take a little bit of a risk, even though it's not really a risk. It's a perceived risk, and hire our students, bring them on board, showcase their art. I think it'll benefit everyone. It'll benefit their business. It'll benefit the morale of their team, and it'll definitely benefit the individuals. It'll benefit the families. And I have evidence. I'll give you one example of that. One of the young guys that is in our art hub, he was working at a hotel before, and they loved him so much that on his birthday, all the staff chipped in and bought him a TV.
Wow.
Now, I know I've never got a TV from my coworkers. I don't know if you have, but how amazing is that? How wonderful is that? That they value and appreciate that person's presence so much that they'll go above and beyond to get him something so awesome. When I first heard that, I joked. I'm like, I'm jealous. Like, I never got that, but I was just like so happy to hear that, and it shows you it's a two-way stream. Like I said with myself too, it's a two-way stream. Not only are you helping that individual, but they're giving back so much to your organization and to your business. So I know most people that have done it, they're thrilled. They're thrilled with the work that they get, the support that they get from that individual.
Isn't it amazing, like, like how much, like, like when we hear about, like, not only like, like when we like, like teach them here or train them here, and when they get the employment outside and how the employers are treating them. And there are so many employers might be out there who are listening to this podcast maybe, right? And, like, and or many supporters like who wants to help us out. So what would you like to tell all of them?
Yeah, I think, like I kind of said earlier, I think, one of the barriers that we have is, it's still with the stigmas and the assumptions that we have, right? Because if you're not working in the field, or if you don't have a family member, or if you don't have close contact with it, like anything else, we kind of have silly assumptions, when you go to like some country that's on the other side of the world, everyone thinks it's, they have this vision in their mind, and then when they go there, they're like, oh my god, it's nothing like how the media or how whatever has made me perceive this place. It's different, and it's nothing like that. It's the same thing with our community. It's people think it's going to be a big challenge, and sometimes it is a challenge, right? But people think it's going to be they're going to have to give way more than they get back, and that's what I want to tell them. I mean, my career as an artist has been kind of a testament to that, because I feel like I've grown as much as I've given. I've gotten as much as I've given. And I think for a lot of businesses and individual supporters, I think that's the main message I want to share with them is it's not a one-way stream. It's great to give, and you should give. You should all give. We should always give. It's our responsibility, but don't assume that you're just going to give, because they're going to give you back so much, whether it's going to be a sense of purpose, whether it's going to be, a friend, a smile, some laughs, a better morale. And sometimes some of the most efficient workers that you'll ever come across, some of our associates are just incredibly organized, incredibly detail oriented, focused. It's a wide spectrum. So you can be amazed. You'll be amazed at what you get. So, that's the main message is, you have to try it. You have to like just break past those assumptions and just go for it and see what happens. And, I'll make a personal guarantee. I think 95% of people will be just thrilled with the outcome. So, if they're not, they can come back and let me know. But I'm just kidding. But obviously, like I think they'll just. I think that's the main thing. We have to break past those assumptions.
And like by doing this, I know like we are going to wrap our conversation soon. But then like I have a question, like what are the events that we are having so that we can portray their like the artwork, or like, like we have to, I know like it's certain things are coming up now, or like, the way we did the musical before. I know you want to have an art exhibition soon, or the holiday market is coming up too. So do you want to talk about it, what will be there, so that, like on the art side of it, right? So,
Sure, for sure. So, one of the things we always try to do is have some sort of exhibition, some sort of event, some sort of opportunity for us to, showcase their art and create more awareness. So we've been doing this constantly. We have a few things coming up. Our holiday market will be a big one. So that happens just right before Christmas.
December 16th, I
December
think. Yes.
16th, yes, correct. And a lot of the products that our Art Hub associates have created will be featured there. So people can go and actually purchase different products, socks, mugs, gift boxes, greeting cards with their artwork, and support the cause, support the individuals, and also get really great products. That's another part of it. So we have that event coming up. We'll also be showcasing and selling some of the students' art. And on March 8th, we have another event. It's going to be a performance and an art show. I can't spoil the exact details of it yet because it's going to be a surprise, and we're still kind of working on some of the elements. So we did this musical several years ago where we took an individual and kind of shared his story and his journey, and just kind of added different elements to it, and really used theater and music and visuals and dance to share this story and connect his life and share his journey with the community and our audience. And it was such an amazing experience. I think everybody was like inspired and emotional, and he got a standing ovation at the end of it. So we're gonna try to replicate that sort of experience. It'll be a different story. We're gonna share the story of another individual. Everything that we do is rooted in real life things that happen. So we're gonna share the challenges and the triumphs of another individual suffering loss, and we're gonna share her story because it's a story that needs to be shared. So we're going to do that through art, and at the same time, we're gonna recognize our artists and showcase their work. And we want the community to come out and show their support because it means a lot. And they also, like I said earlier, they feel it, they know it, they experience it. They know when they're in the spotlight, they know when they're being recognized, and they thrive off that energy like all of us do. So yeah, I was super excited for those
So I
events.
guess we want to celebrate their success. We want to celebrate their strengths. At the same time, we want to show the audience or the listeners like their challenges, what they're going through. It's not just them, the caregivers, and everyone's challenges. I guess that's your musical is going to be.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I hope that that'll be a great success. Now, I have one last question. Who is your favorite artist and why?
So, so, so I have a student, Jonathan. Whenever I ask him who's your favorite artist, he says Amir. So just to like send it back to him, send the love back to him. I'm gonna say Jonathan right now, but to be honest, all of them, I love everything that they're doing. All of them see, like, not just the end results, the process, watching them create, watching them grow. I think they're all just incredible.
Okay,
I love.
outside of SAAC, who's
Oh,
your
who's my
favorite
favorite artist?
Yeah.
Like all time, like thing.
Yes.
I when I was like really starting out in art and going to school. I really like Wasley Kandinsky. I don't know if anyone knows him. He's an abstract artist. He did a lot of abstract stuff, and it's interestingly enough, he used music as the inspiration for his compositions. So he would try to arrange his compositions while listening to Bach, I believe. And you try to arrange them like a musical composition. So if you see some of the paintings, you can kind of see those elements. But I love the abstraction of it, and I love, using different elements of art like line, form, shape, those things, and color, and using those things to create something that was visually interesting. I was always intrigued by that. But I have a lot. Having gone and seen some famous paintings in person, the impressionist. When you see it in person, it's very different than when you look at it in the textbook. Like Monet is just unbelievable, and Salvador Dali. If you want to see someone that's mastered the technique of painting, Salvador Dali, Rembrandt, and then probably the best of all time, I think, has got to be Leonardo da Vinci. I've never seen so much character and soul in a work of art. So yeah, that's a lot. Sorry, I went
That's
on.
great. No, no, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your successes with the artist and the associates with us. So I'm looking forward for this musical on March 8th and for our holiday market on December 16th. To see all the artwork what has been done by our associates here, or all the students too, right? Every single persons will be put up there. So thank you so much, Amir, for your time. And we'll have another session in a couple of months, I guess. Thank
Sure,
you.
sounds good. It was a lot of fun, and thank you, Geeta, not just for this conversation, but for doing what you've done to start this organization and give all of us an opportunity to, do what we love to do. So thank you for that.
My pleasure.